What's up, y'all?
Hello, hello.
You are tuning into Black Comic Lords, and we are chatting live with author Lamar Giles about his upcoming release, Static Up All Night. What's up, Lamar?
Nothing much. How you doing, Bree?
I'm doing great, though. I'm sitting here talking to you. How are you feeling?
I feel great. It's really fun to be able to finally discuss this book, and I can't wait for people to get their hands on it.
Oh, man. Can I tell you about how juiced I was to get my hands on these preview pages? And it just sparked all this additional excitement for me about new Static books coming out. Like, it's such a joy to see other people like experiencing Static for the first time, or having their insight conversations about what their initial experience with Static was like versus these new ones coming out. So I'm super thrilled to be a part of this. Black Comic Lords, thanks you for being here. Everybody tuning in, hang around. We're going to chat about Static Up All Night. If you have questions, comments, concerns, queries, quandaries, qualms, drop them in the chat. We have our wizard in the back navigating that. So we'll try to get to those questions as we can. But yeah, I mean, let's just jump right on into it. So yes, I'm excited about this chat too. So Lamar, I have to say, my first introduction to your work was in Cool Awkward Black, the anthology. And it was such a fun story. Drive Time was such a good time. And I was like, laugh out loud for so many parts in that story. And I loved how you did the point of view changes between the two kids and their adventure. So I already knew that I loved your work, and then it was such an honor to be able to check out the preview pages of Static Up All Night before it came out. So again, just super juiced to chat with you, man. So let's just get right on into these questions. So I read a bit of your bio information from the milestone 30th pages that we got, and it's so fun to hear other comic lovers and their first experiences with comics and what kind of drew them in and how that translates to the page. So that's where quite a few of my questions are coming from. But I'd love to hear from you. You touched on it a bit in that article, but where did your love for comics actually start?
Well, for me, the love of comics actually started before I could even really read. My mom would tell me stories of taking me into like the local 7-Eleven, and this was back in the days when the comics were on a spinner rack. And she said, as a 4 year old, I would just point. The art drew me in. I would just point at characters I recognized. I knew who they were, even though I didn't understand the words. And she would buy me the comics and just be happy that I would flip through the pages and try to follow along with a story, even though I couldn't yet quite read.
Mhm.
And it's just something that has stuck with me ever since. And that's going on 40 years of fandom from the initial falling in love with the art to falling in love with the entire form.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. You you took it back with the spinner rack. We love to see it. Like
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Lamar said, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. We've been on this comic life. Okay. Well, what encouraged you to start writing comics? Because I see you have like a vast body of work, as far as like in general novels. But what made you transition to writing graphic novels?
Well, the truth was, I was always intimidated because I didn't really understand the writing side of it. I didn't understand the format. And what happened was several years ago, several of my writer friends started to get these deals where they were writing novels for characters I knew. So, like Jason Reynolds wrote a Miles Morales novel, Matt De La Pena wrote a Superman novel, Marie Lu, I think, wrote a young Bruce Wayne novel. And so I saw these characters sort of merging into the lane I was familiar with. So
Mhm.
I thought, I would probably segue and be able to make the connections to write some sort of novel about a character I loved. And it was just through various connections I ended up speaking to some DC Comics editors. And they told me, they're like, we're going to start doing a young adult graphic novel line. Would you have any interest in that? And I said, sure. But I expressed the things that made me anxious. They said, hey, we'll help you learn the form. We just
Mhm.
want you to bring what you do to the table.
Yeah.
So then it became a matter of finding what fit. Milestone fit, static fit. It all made sense. It all came at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. If the story that I read from Cool Awkward Black is any indication, the you could see remnants of that youthful playfulness, but also wit, in their experience translated to the preview pages that I got to enjoy of Static Up All Night. So any qualms that you had about making that transition, please let them be squashed right now, because it definitely sings through. So you killed that. Let's see. Okay, as a longtime Static fan, what does writing a new Static story mean to you? Because I know you felt it deep. You talked about your initial Static experience, so share a little bit about that, and then tell us what that's like.
Well, my initial Static experience was when the milestone line initially dropped way back in 1993. So I would have been about 13 years old.
Mhm.
So to be able to write Static now is like a full circle moment for me because he came into my life at 13, and now I'm writing a version targeted at modern teens.
Yeah,
And it feels like something you can't plan, but at the same time, it feels like something in the universe must have a plan for the symmetry to be in place. And
yeah.
bonus points because I got to talk to legends like Mr. Dennis Cowan and
Mm.
Mr. Reggie Hudlin to even pitch my idea. And to
Yeah.
have them sign off on it is just a bonus.
Ooh, that's like a double. That's a bacon wrap bonus. That's what we're gonna call that.
That was it. That was an incredible Zoom. It was probably
Yeah.
the most incredible Zoom I was on for the last few years.
Were you shook? Were you like, oh man, I really
Yes.
gotta impress these guys?
Yeah, I was because I can't talk too much about the story yet,
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
I think there was some concern that I might be trying to turn Static into like Euphoria or something, and I had to kind of just kind of talk to everybody and say, explain some of the things I was doing and that it was still going to be Virgil, and I
Yeah,
wasn't going to change anything about Virgil. And
yeah.
I mean, once I talked to everybody, everybody was cool, but it was just sort of in the outline. I think something got lost in translation.
That's fair. You had to help them catch the vision, and they
Well,
got it.
if you can't defend what you're going to do.
That's right. Say that for real. Okay. So what was your process in writing or updating Static Shock in Up All Night for this generation? Because it definitely comes from a different angle.
Well, I wouldn't consider it so much an update as me always having been interested in the parts of a superhero's life we don't see a lot of.
Mm,
What I like to think of as a slow day, because it can't be every minute, hour of the day is got to save the city, got to save the world, got to save the universe. So
right.
I was very interested in those more mundane moments and how powers and the personality of the hero affect their interactions with other people. And one of my favorite examples in the last few years, there was a Superman series a few years back called Superman American Alien.
Mhm.
And in issue 3, like a 21-year-old Clark, through a bizarre series of events, ends up on Bruce Wayne's yacht, and it's a party. Bruce Wayne isn't there though. He never
Uh,
comes to the party, so no one knows what he looks like. So they think Clark is Bruce. And it becomes like pure comedy for the whole issue, even up to a point when there's an attempt on Bruce's life. And I just thought it was brilliant. And it's had the vibes I was going for with Static Up All Night. So when I got a chance to write the book, I made the conscious decision that I wanted that sort of humor, but I wanted to keep it in the teen realm. And the template I went with was one that was ubiquitous in my teen years, which was
mm,
the teen comedy. And
yeah.
specifically, I have films in mind like Adventures in Babysitting, Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Yeah.
and Reggie Hudlin's House Party.
Mhm.
And so the catalyst in this story is that Virgil and Daisy have been together for a while, and at the beginning of the book, she breaks up with him.
Ah,
He's sad, and to try to ease the pain, he decides to go to a local music festival for a normal night. But there's no normal nights in Dakota, and we're off to the races from there.
oh, it was so solid. So I love a good music festival. So I was like, this tracks. I'm like, she's wild, and she didn't even give him a chance. And there's a panel where you see them come to the realization that in the preview, where they come to the realization that, okay, we're not on the same page. This isn't gonna end well. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is giving like peak like teenage angst, but realistically so, if that makes sense. Like what was that like as like a teenager, and your girlfriend or your boyfriend breaks up with you, and it's like, how you get broken up with and you got superpowers, my guy? And then yeah, so it was just it was so well done, because you walk that line between like, your usual superhero story and then giving us this in-depth peek into his normal life, and it just makes him more relatable and fun to follow along with in the story. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, thank you.
Okay. This is a question that is really important to me because I've been having conversations about this transition in the introduction of the Bang Babies. So, how do you think changing the cause of the Bang Babies to police brutality at a Black Lives Matter protest changes the motivations and receptions of the affected characters?
Well, so I was thinking about this too. I
Hmm.
think having the Big Bang take place at a protest uh, probably means the majority of the Bang Babies were already there for similar purposes, a common cause, which
Yeah,
is to protest injustice, even though we know that some of the personalities of the Bang Babies may clash. And
yeah,
so having them be created out of this common purpose, I think means they have a stronger sense of community among each other, even if they're beefing. And to
yeah,
me, that feels real. That feels like real life within the Black community. We don't always agree with each other about how to approach a particular situation. And there can be times when we could be at each other's necks. But when that oppressor from the outside comes at the family, we will come together, even if we're right back at each other's necks the next day. And I
yeah,
feel like you see some of that in Static season one, which I
mhm,
won't spoil for anyone who hasn't gotten through those first 6 issues. But
yeah.
if you have read it, where Virgil and his friends end up towards the end, to me speaks to that idea of we still look out for each other, even if we'll be fighting tomorrow.
That's right. Congratulations, Mr. Giles is right. That's
Thank you.
right. Static
Thank you.
Up All Night is the first ever YA graphic novel featuring static. So how did you balance that difference? Like you have some play on were you exposed to season 1 and then were able to kind of adjust accordingly the tone or the mood for it, because it's still giving us all of the full importance of, the social commentary that entails of having his powers come from that source, but it's still young and fresh and still mostly kept light from the preview that I was able to read. How do you walk that fine line between the YA experience and the adult experience?
Well, it wasn't so much about adjusting to season one because I started scripting maybe 2 months before season one launched. So I
Okay.
was kind of already deep into it by the time I started to see the season one issues.
Yeah.
But as me and as an adult balancing the issues of a younger person, I just always think there are certain things that don't change generation to generation. And if you can capture the feelings of that, it doesn't really matter if the music's different or the technology is different. And I think you spoke to it a little bit too when we were talking about Virgil going through this moment of, dang, I got superpowers and I still got dumped. It, I think like no matter who you are, that's a painful experience. And if you have been through that or know people that have gone through that, it's not hard to tell a story around that people can relate to. And to me, it's just a fun challenge to work in the superpowers and the community of Dakota as we know it. It's something I've practiced for a very long time.
Mhm. Oh, I can definitely see that. So, just for clarity for those of y'all watching, if you didn't know, now you know. Static season 1 and Static Up All Night are completely independent stories. You're getting different views of Static from different perspectives, and you don't have to read one to understand the other. They're completely independent of each other. And though this is listed as a YA title, it's not giving, just give this to your younger sibling or whatever. It's very much still a fully enjoyable story as an adult. I thoroughly enjoyed it, so don't sleep just because it's YA. Just had to put that out there. And I'm only drawing comparisons because they're all static stories, but like I said, they are fully independent of each other. Let's see. Okay, so I touched on this a little earlier, but I really enjoyed your short story Drive Time in Cool Awkward Black. Um, and we see you bring that lighthearted energy to Static's character as well. How do you maintain such an easygoing balance between personality, comedy, and themes?
Well, I think the comedy takes the forefront because I'm a naturally anxious person,
Oh,
and and so in my whole life I've been that way. And in times of great anxiety, I cope by finding the humor in the situation. So
Mhm.
it's sort of like the kind of thing where you laugh at a bully even if he's going to punch you harder. And
Okay.
after a lifetime of seeking humor in heavy situations and studying comedic writing that I enjoyed, it gave me a skill set that felt right for dealing with Virgil and the things he and the crew go through throughout the book. And Mr. Cowan gave me a tip very early on that I thought was extremely helpful. And he told me, he said, Virgil should always be the light in the room. And when you take that into consideration, when you're the light, I think that makes the potential for laughing through pain even higher. And I hope
Mhm.
that comes through.
Yeah, absolutely. We his interactions with his friends and his family all throughout this, even amidst getting dumped, he still managed to be the light in the room for sure. So you definitely accomplished that goal. Just their encounters together and their interactions, especially when he's deciding about going to the music festival or not. I just had a full on chuckle about that because it's like, oh, he's got his little heart broke, and his friend's like, nah, bro, we're going out.
We're going out. We're going to make you feel better.
Absolutely, and that's such like a on point way that your friend would approach a situation. Like, you're not allowed to be down in the dumps just like anybody else. We're gonna go do this thing. Let's see. Okay, so from the preview, we see that Raquel makes an appearance. Can we expect to see more familiar faces in Static Up All Night?
Absolutely. I tried to sneak in a bunch of things. Some of it I didn't know if it would make it through, but Paris's art has really sort of increased the visibility of some things I thought I would just slide in the script that would never make it. So that to be said, you'll see a few more familiar faces, but there's
Mhm.
a lot there for DC fans, Milestone fans, Warner Brother fans. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of visual gags I hope people can pick up on and enjoy.
Okay, we don't wanna give spoilers about those
Yeah,
gags, but you talked about how the artwork has been able to, like, make key points that you were trying to convey clearer, and I know that you mentioned you had some concerns about transitioning to, from writing to graphic writing, so can you tell us, a bit about what that experience was like and how they differ or how you transitioned?
well, the thing about writing, for me, writing a graphic novel script is sort of switching up my whole thinking in that every panel, like you're describing a still photograph. And it took me maybe 2 weeks into the process to really wrap my head around every panel is a still photograph. And you need to be able to convey action by the differences in the photograph.
Mhm.
And once I could figure that part out and made the adjustment, it became incredibly fun and I got very quick. I think, and Paris could probably speak to this if you talk to him. In
Mhm.
the first, say, 20, 30 pages of the script, I think I was doing a little bit too much description.
Okay.
And, because he's got to come in and do his thing, and he's very good. So he doesn't need like that much guidance, but I didn't know. But I
Yeah.
think as time went on in the script, I got more lean with my descriptions and really was able to give enough for him to do his thing without being overbearing. And it became like a super fun project, like putting a puzzle together. And I want to do more of it. I hope to be able to do more, whether that's more graphic novel work, whether it's doing something monthly. But I had a blast, and I'm totally into it now.
Hint, hint, wink, wink, DC, let him get his
Yes, yes.
thing.
Let me work. Let me work.
Awesome. Yes. Oh, Paris's art is exceptional in the story, and I think it brought some of the lightheartedness to the story as well. So it's not so rough around the edges, if that makes sense. It
Mhm.
definitely made it fun, but still giving us very much superhero. So I love that. So you talked about how you kind of had to come back from being super detailed about descriptive work so that Paris could do his thing. And then you were able to kind of like work together on this puzzle. So if you had to give any three pieces of advice to a new writer transitioning from writing a novel to writing a graphic novel, what do you think you would share with them?
Try not to do too much, and it's hard to figure out what that is in the beginning. But
Uh,
just know you will adjust. Trust the artist. They are. incredible at their job. I mean, like, and Stephen Harris did the layouts. Paris is doing the final art on the main story. Yancey Lobbit is doing the art on the bonus story. There's a bonus story for people who didn't know. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Bex Glendining is doing colors. Like, all these people are excellent, and you can back off a little and let them do their thing. So that's two. Don't do too much. I think it's two. I lost count now. I guess the third piece of
Don't do
advice.
too much. Trust
Yeah,
the artist.
trust the artist, and remember why you love this form. Because going into it, particularly in the beginning when it was getting hard, I was like, am I going to be able to even do this? But then I remember the joy of buying new comics, seeing these characters, and being a part of that, and it renewed whatever doubts I had in the beginning. And like I said, by the time I hit the midpoint, I was in it. I was totally comfortable in the format.
That's awesome. Okay, y'all heard it here first. Black Comic Lords, Lamar Giles spilling the tea a little bit. we're gonna breeze past that secret story a little bit that you share because I know you can't tell me nothing about it, but that's a good thing to look forward to. Okay, so someone in the chat asked Lamar, besides Static, is there another hero that you would love to write about? Tell it.
Ooh, ooh, that's a good question. Is there another hero I would like to write about? Um, I'll be honest, because I still feel new. If the editors are listening and there's a need they have, I'm
Mhm.
willing to work on anything they felt comfortable giving me a shot with. Like, that's kind of my work ethic. Like, because I'm still fairly new to the whole form, I'm willing to prove myself with whatever. Now, certainly anything in Milestone, I love to touch again. I love
Hey.
Icon and Rocket, hardware, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
it's if there's just something people need, I'm the guy to give it a try.
I'm the guy to give it a try. Go ahead, Lamar. I see you with these bars. Dropping these straight fire bars. Lamar said, "Give it to me. I got it. Don't worry about it. We doing it." So yeah, and I can support that. You got a little swagger about you. I'd be inclined to believe the man when he says what he said. Okay, let's see. Da, 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 da. So, okay, we've talked about the comics that kind of got you into comics, and obviously you're a huge Static fan, but I'd love to hear what other comics are like on your top faves list, and then also what are you reading right now?
Well, for faves, I started Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country.
Ooh, solid.
That's fantastic, and I've really been enjoying DC versus Vampires. Like, that's
Mm,
been a super fun book, and of course, I know you already mentioned Static, but I just got Static season two, issue two today,
okay.
so I'm pretty certain I'm going to read that tonight.
Yeah.
And then I'm a novel guy. I write novels, so as far as novels go, I'm reading a book called Jackal by Aaron E. Adams.
Okay.
It's fantastic horror thriller novel.
Oh, you're a horror thriller kind of guy?
Yes, that's honestly my first love, and
Okay.
that's not what I do all year long, but I'm in that season right now.
Okay. That's okay. It's speaking volumes right now, Lamar. Speaking volumes. Okay. And then, okay. This, I love asking everybody this question. Y'all get sick of it. I don't care. It's a bomb question. So, if you could have any superpower, which ones would you pick?
Oh, that's easy. There is one power that
Okay.
I would take and I'll be good. Teleportation.
Ooh,
The
yeah.
reason being, I spend so much time in airports and on planes. I would love to just be able to be where I need to be and get back instantly. So teleportation. If someone knows any science experiments going on that I can accidentally fall into and get that power, I'm there for it.
Oh my gosh, y'all, Lamar said he's tired of the airport. Okay, he just need to get where he's going. He's like, I don't even want to ask for too much. I just need to get where I'm going. I love that. I love that. Okay, and then let's see. Okay, so what future projects are you working on? Like, do you have any other graphic or otherwise projects that you're currently working on?
Sure. So I got a book coming out in May 9th, called Epic Ellison's Cosmos Camp. And that's
Oh,
a children's book, a science fiction fantasy novel.
mhm.
And I have a couple other projects that I am working on. I'm writing a young adult horror novel right now, which is part of the reason I was shouting out all that horror stuff. I'm kind of in that mindset.
Yeah.
And I have an original graphic novel proposal that I'm trying to figure out what to do with.
Okay, can you give us a little tea about what that's about?
I'll say this. I describe it as John Wick meets Hellboy.
Ooh, we love to see it. I'm
Yeah,
here for
yeah.
that. Sign me
So
up.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do with that. As I said, I'm new to this part of the industry and don't really know how to navigate everything yet. But I would love to find a home for that.
Okay, that's awesome. We love to see it. We love to support. So y'all know y'all love that description. So just go ahead and make sure you follow Lamar on every platform so you could be the first one to find out when those things pop. Okay, we have another question from the chat. If you could revamp any DC character you think isn't getting enough love, who would it be?
Hmm. So again, I'm on a horror kick right now. So maybe Etrigan the Demon.
Okay.
Um, I and this is me saying there may be someone who's written Etrigan lately that I missed, but
Okay.
I don't see him pop up a ton,
Mhm.
other than maybe in some of the animated films. So I wouldn't mind taking a crack at that.
Okay, go ahead and tell it then. We love to see it. Okay, so you gave us a little bit of like a framework or an elevator pitch for what you're working on right now, but I'd love to hear you tell those looking forward to Static Up All Night who can't wait till it's released in November, right?
hmm November
Okay.
7th, I believe.
November 7th. Okay, y'all put that in your calendars right quick, right fast. And or actually stop what you're doing and pre-order because we pre-order around these parts because we know how important that is. If you don't know, uh after you finish watching this, go watch our Eve Ewing interview that we did because she broke it down why pre-orders are important. But yeah, so I'd love to hear your pitch or how you describe Static Up All Night story to people who are anticipating it or aren't even sure what to expect.
Static Up All Night is the story of our beloved Virgil Hawkins going through heartbreak. In an attempt to heal that heartache, he ends up at a music festival with some familiar faces from around the Milestone universe, and things go wacky from there. It's one of those one crazy night stories. They're up all night for a reason, some bad, some good, but you're going to get a lot of action. You're going to get a lot of humor. You're going to see a lot of stuff that you love about these characters. I had fun writing, and I think you'll have fun reading.
Ooh, okay. I think you might be the smoothest elevator pitch that I've heard yet. That was real smooth and succinct. We love to see it.
Well, thank you, thank
Okay.
you.
It just says, I love some teenage angst. Yes, get into it. Well done, teenage angst. That's important. Okay, another comment from the chat. A comic book club I'm in is reading season 1 this month. We'll have to add Static Up All Night for June. Get those pre-orders in. Absolutely. We
Yeah,
love to
thank
see
you,
it
thank
nighttime
you, thank
news.
you. And I'm sure y'all having fun reading season one. No, that series was incredible.
Yes, yes, DC doing their thing. Okay, so it wouldn't be me. We already did a little bit of a shameless plug, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't have you do the official Black Comic Lords intro. So if we could get Lamar in the main view of the screen. All right. So I need you to get your best, like, I'm that guy face on.
hmm
Take a deep breath. And I need you to say, you're here with the Black Comic Lords.
You're here with the Black Comic Lords.
Hey, you boy, you too smooth, Lamar. You too
Now I feel
smooth.
like, do I need another take? I felt like my voice cracked on the last
Okay,
word.
we
Like I
can
get,
do another take now. We can do another take. All right.
give it to me again.
3, 2, 1, action.
You're here with the Black Comic Lords.
Yeah, we love to see it. You too smooth, Lamar. I love it. I love it. Okay. So another thing that it wouldn't be me if I didn't do. What are your thoughts about us having you back in November once people have had well, maybe December, once people have had a chance to check it out so we can chat semi spoilers? Mhm.
Absolutely, I would love to do that. I would love to be able to talk fully about this book with you. So if you'll have me, I'll be here.
Yes, we would love to have you back. Yeah, we try to make sure that we're respectful about people having their opportunity to read the book before we do anything spoilerish. But sometimes you get into the grits or the meat and potatoes of the situation when you can come back after it's been released. So that's awesome. Yes. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh, comments saying, so for you as a writer, when you take on a story for a character you're unfamiliar with, do you get back issues from whatever company to properly capture the character? That's a good question.
Yeah, so I would. Static was a situation where I was very familiar with the character and
Mhm,
familiar with the milestone. I mean, I still have some of the original books, so
mhm.
that wasn't one where I had to go digging and research. But if it was a character I was unfamiliar with, I would certainly either request back issues or simply track them down myself and try to do as much reading as possible within whatever time frame I had to work.
Okay, that's cool. So that kind of brings another question to me. If you could do another milestone anthology type of book, who are some character stories you would want to include, and who are some creators you would want to contribute to the book?
Oh, so I would love to do Rocket and Icon.
Mhm.
um, or Icon and Rocket, whichever order you want to put them. I think of Raquel first because Raquel is in
Ah,
Static Up All Night.
yes. Can we
Yeah,
talk about how much we are besties now because you said that, Lamar?
yeah,
Come
yeah,
through.
yeah.
Put some
I
respect
love Ra-
on her name.
I love Raquel. I love Raquel. So anything with her, I would love to do again. As far as creators, I would just ask for the current team back. I'm very much
Hey.
we if we work well together, I want to work with you again. So I'm like, can we get the band back together?
That's what's up. The gang is all here. Lamar said what he said. Okay, side note, Lamar, I need that shirt in a 3XL, please and thank you. Yeah, go ahead and give us a little shoulder work so people can see what you're rocking with. He got the
I had to
style.
represent. I had to represent Virgil. You know, if I'm coming out here, I got to come correct.
One time for the one time. Dang, DC, this is a missed opportunity. We should have had that
She had the
buy
merch.
link.
She had the merch link.
Run it up one time. Yes, we love to see it.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah,
dcshop.com. Okay.
dcshop.com. Okay, y'all go ahead, run and go cop that static shirt so you can rep like Lamar is right about now. Okay, so yeah, I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to have you here to chat and that I was able to convince you to come on back once the book is released so we can chat semi spoilerish again with the Black Comic Lords. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming through and showing love. If you enjoyed this, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe, and check out our other interviews because we had some dope interviews with some DC fam, and we have some more coming up. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. We actually have another interview coming up tomorrow. It's Still Giving Milestone Love with Sean Damian Hill and Jeffrey Thorne. We're going to be chatting all of the things, get all of the vibes. So make sure you set your alarm so you can come through 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to make sure that you, like I said, like, follow, and subscribe. If you're new here, you might as well go ahead and skedaddle on over there and join the Black Comic Lords Facebook group because that's where all the magic happens. Everybody shares their pulls and their discoveries and things of that nature. The whole goal of the space is to share about Black comics and Black comic creators so that way we're spreading the gospel and getting people in love with the art so that it can stay alive. Um, yeah, so we just love to see it and we hope to see you again. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.